Each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your host, Keith Varney.
Out of practice.
It's Mike and Nicolio. Way back in high school, most every night, felt like I was shouting. My mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo. What could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
Mike is 40, and I'll be 50 before I see my house.
Out of practice.
It's Monday for us. Monday.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice Podcast, a weekly podcast in which we discuss David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week, we are up to Season 5, Episode 10, Friends and Ex-Lovers. You are one of those to me. How's it going, Mike? How was the first week of 40?
First week of 40, I'll say this. It was a bit of a shame spiral. It included more McDonald's in the past week than I've experienced in the past 10 years of my life. So that was sobering. Yeah, that was sobering.
It's probably fattening more than sobering.
Both of those things. Feel hungover from just the sheer bullshit of it. But anyway, it's been good. It's
I'm envious.
This is what we call hashtag first world problems.
Mm.
We are trying to be good citizens and surrender our license plate and get a Pennsylvania plate.
Ooh,
And
really?
They are just making it very complicated, as the post office tends to do, or the DMV tends to do. On top of that, I have a package coming to me that has some equipment inside of it, and it came on Friday, and the mailman didn't ring the doorbell. He just left me a little slip that was like, "Oh, we missed you." So I sign up to go pick it up on today.
Right,
I get a confirmation that's like, "You're good to go. Pick us up between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m." So I get up at 8. I go over to the post office, and the guy's like, "I sent it out with the driver." And I said, "Well, why would you do that?" I requested a pickup, and he said, "Well, you sent me that email." And I said, "What?" Long story short, somehow this guy got an email that said, "Send it out on the truck." And I was like, "But I'm me, and I didn't send an email. So something's weird." And so that's where the saga ends. I'm waiting. Hopefully the mail will come during this podcast, and I will see my package. Otherwise, somebody full-on federal crimed me and stole my package. So,
and that is a very uniquely urban problem with the mail. And it's been something we've dealt with for the last 20 years of getting a package when you live in an apartment. If you're not in a building that has a mailroom or something like that, is a nightmare because you have to literally be there when they ring the doorbell with your package, or else they'll say, "I'll come back tomorrow," or whatever. And it's something that, growing up in a rural place, it was never an issue. You just throw the package on the, onto the deck and you never worry about it. But then it became such a huge pain in the ass. And luckily, at our place here, it's not that bad. And it won't be. We will be able to leave packages in our new house, which is screwed up again. If you thought the saga of our Jillian and I buying our first home.
Wait, before you do that, Mike has 30 seconds to catch everyone up on the saga. So from what I recall, you purchased a home.
Yeah, okay.
You purchased a home, you put in you put in your bid, you did it all, and then you got a call during the podcast telling you that they accepted another offer that had outbidded you.
That's right.
But luckily, they stuck to the word and let you match that offer, which you did, and if all was well. Then there was an inspection, and the inspection coughed up some things that you had to negotiate.
As they are prone to do.
You had to negotiate to see who would be paying for said things.
Right.
You you jumped over that hurdle. All seemed well. Last I recall, mid-December-ish, we were supposed to be not helping you move.
Right. Well, so the step that you missed there was the ambiguous delay from the sellers because they're purchasing another home, and so they couldn't really give us a good answer of when they are going to be leaving our home so that we can move in, and then we try to figure out what the closing date is going to be based on that. So that was sort of an ambiguous time, sometime between mid-November and the end of December.
Which aren't very stressful times anyway, so at least that's good.
It's so relaxing. And moving, during the heat of the pandemic and so on and so forth. But so we had gotten to the point where we had decided to close on the 30th. So a week from today, we were going to close and hypothetically move. A week from today. So our apartment, you can't see it behind me here because the only thing I've left on the walls are the background for this podcast. So we are 90% packed. We have thrown out most of our IKEA furniture, which we need to replace with more IKEA furniture that is
new
IKEA
sawdust.
So here we are thinking we're going to do that. And then we get this email a couple of days ago that says, so one of the people who owns the home, not the couple who lived there, but their grandfather, who was also on the deed, died. And which is terribly sad, and it's awful for the sellers.
Oh, he's on the deed though.
He's on the deed. So what that means is that you can't sell the house. We can't close until he is off of the deed, or at least the legal system has allowed somebody to take over his interest. And so that normally is a 1 to 2 week process, which would have fucked up our closing anyway. But right now, because of COVID, because there are just a lot more deaths happening, but also because the offices are closed, they're like, oh yeah, we can probably do that in 45 to 60 days.
So it could be the new year before you move.
Oh yeah, no, we could be like late January before we have any chance of moving.
What's your lease situation? Sorry, we're getting into the nitty gritty here, but like, do you have a place to live?
Yes, yeah, we can stay here. Although we haven't paid our rent for November because we'll use a security deposit for the last month of rent. Anyway, it's a big old nightmare. We don't even know for sure if we can do that then, because I'm assuming that the sellers, the house they're going to buy, they're not going to want to wait another 45 to 60 days. So they might lose the house they're trying to buy, and then the whole thing comes crashing to a halt. So I have no idea what's going to happen. Our lawyer promised he was going to call me before 10 today. Well, it is 1 p.m. He has not called yet. So
he's the guy who wrote the email in my package. Your lawyer's off with my PlayStation.
Let me tell you, we've had some amazing people we're working with in this process. Our lawyer is not one of them. Our mortgage guy, terrific. Our agents, great. This guy, less so. So if you're here to get a recommendation for a real estate lawyer in New Jersey, I have one not to use.
I love that if we're both 40 now, but if you were to take this back to Keith and Mike when they're 20, whatever we were when we met each other, and you're like, you're going to be on a show, and one of you is going to be talking about how you can't settle on when you're closing for your houses, and the other one's just waiting for his PS5 in the mail. I think we probably would have been able to suss out who's who.
That's not actually true, because either one of us, I mean, when we were living together, I didn't think a house was available to either one of us. I would have been just impressed that one of us could actually purchase a PlayStation.
I know. You'd be like, wow, man, that's a whole week's salary of touring.
For
not
you,
quite.
maybe.
Yeah,
I wouldn't get a PlayStation for a week of what I was making on tour.
Yeah.
As I've said before, I was making a colossal $375 a week, including the per diem and before taxes.
You had a part too. I didn't even have a part that made more money than that. I don't even know how that all shook out.
Because I didn't negotiate. I didn't like. I remember one of our mutual friends was like, he negotiated to have his own bus seat.
His bus seat. That was the big thing.
There's like two seats in each row in the bus, and he got his own double seat. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I've done this before. I know how to negotiate."
I took that on for the second tour I did.
Of course you did.
I learned, and not only that, but I think I've told the story in the pod. Stop me because I won't tell it again. But day one of our tour, I roll into my seatmate who was this pretty redhead. And I was like, hell yeah, this all worked out. I have 2 months, 3 months, however long we were out on that tour. Like sitting next to a cute girl every ride.
Oh, right.
And the first day she's like, hey, I want to tell you I have IBS. And I was like,
yeah.
Womp, 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 womp. And let me confirm, she did.
She did.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Very cute.
No, please. She's cute though. All right, but you ended up with a different one.
I did
on that show.
I sure did.
And we're probably going to get to probably a sad ballad or two at some point by the end of this podcast. Probably
I don't know.
About that girl.
I've sort of cut her out of my heart and brain like a cancer, so I'm not sure anything's left, but we'll see.
Oh, come on. You know you wrote her songs. I think I might have a song you wrote about her on my hard drive somewhere.
Oh.
So look out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do a podcast about David E. Kelly's The Practice, award-winning television show, The Practice. And we are up to season 5, episode 10, Friends and Ex-Lovers. Speaking of ex-lovers, I can't wait to jump in. I know we have a couple of friends who have taken the time to correspond with us, and we'd like to share those correspondence in a segment we call
Filings and Subpoenas.
You gave me about 45 minutes to find. I was locked and loaded. I was like, when is he ever going to stop talking? That was funny. All right. Well, we heard from our good friend Marla Sokolov, Marla's fan page, who commented on one of the pictures from last week's episode, season 5, episode 9, The Deal. Who wrote with a picture of Marla on the phone. Hi, Key speaking. Lucy represents the mood when you're on the phone with your friends and you hear that crap is happening to the one person y'all don't like. Check out that picture. That is a very good description of what her face is. All right. I've frozen. Look at me.
You're coming back.
I'm small.
Oh.
So I think depending on how much I freeze is how small the picture gets. So
That's
right now
funny.
I'm super tiny. All right. So now we got
Oh!
now I'm huge.
Man, I'm gonna have to keep track of this all episode.
Okay. Amazing. Well, I think
Thanks,
it will
Jen.
fix it. It fix itself eventually. What's up, CEO Jen?
CEO Jen, God love her. She is so used to in this pandemic being stressed out, and she's gone back to work, and while she's looking for like a full-time job, she's been waiting tables inside and outdoor and takeout with masks. Nice restaurant, but still that's stressful. Can only imagine how stressful it is.
Seriously.
In fact, I can imagine because I live in the house with her, so I share that stress.
Yeah, fair
However,
enough.
in general other life, she's like so used to being stressed that when she's not stressed, she just finds things to be triggering. So right now, the license plate thing is sending her over the moon. So I'm trying.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we still have a Pennsylvania license plate.
Oh, maybe we could just swapsies.
Yeah, we just swapped. Well, it's actually handy to have an out-of-state license plate because sometimes when you get pulled over, they don't want to bother with dealing with the out-of-state ticket.
The only reason we even did the swap is because, Keith, I cannot even explain to you how much cheaper my car insurance is here. It's almost
really
1/4 the price than it was in New York.
That is not surprising. That's
Like
all right.
50,
Well, that's worth
$50
it.
bucks a month or something like that. What is it, Jen? And it's insanely cheap.
Yes. All right. Well, we are going to stay on topic at some point a little bit. I think it's because you know what it was? Because Mike and I didn't like chit chat before we started recording. So now
we jumped right in.
We haven't talked in like a week. So we're just chit chatting about life. So sorry,
That's
guys.
true. Yeah.
All right. So last
And I
week,
literally have no other friends, and I'm very close to my family now, so I need somebody to talk to.
fair enough. Anyway, so last week on your birthday episode, we heard a couple of times from, of course, our good friend Phoenix. And apparently, we made a whole mess of mistakes. He has a rebuttal.
Hey guys, it's Phoenix again.
Wait,
I'm
I was
back
so
with
gracious to
2
him.
Prime correctives. Prime objections. Whatever. Just roll the bump.
That's a Star Trek TNC reference.
Before-
Did he just ask you to roll the bumper?
He sure did.
He's better
we're
than.
We're not
He's a
taking
better me than me.
instructions.
There will be an appeal.
I get into it. I just want to make a point to show that I don't always side with Mike. Keith, last week I found out that you and I are on the same side of something. Your favorite episode of TV comes from my favorite series, Breaking Bad.
Yeah, fair
Whereas
enough.
Mike's favorite, The Leftovers. I had a visceral hatred for that pilot.
Boom.
No, he's not wrong. With the
Okay,
pilot
now
was
that
bad.
That's done with. Keith, it's time for me to tell you everything that you got wrong.
Yeah, I'm the
Oh, that
one who
didn't
got
last long.
everything wrong.
That did not last long.
It's partially my fault. You see, in one of my first correspondences, I wrote in with a theory of George Volgeman's diagnosis. At the time, I referenced my undergrad and graduate psych education, but I'm not, as Keith referred to me, a psychotherapist. I never finished my PhD because before I could, I realized that in spite of my skills, it wouldn't have been a fulfilling career. Which basically means I got sick of my friends not listening and making the same mistakes over and over, and if I couldn't put up with them, I certainly wouldn't find the patience to do it for strangers.
Well, and here's another overlap, because I also went to school for something that I didn't end up doing, not necessarily because I couldn't, but because it wasn't fun.
Me too.
See, we're all the same, and this is how you end up on a podcast and sending things to a podcast.
But don't worry, not being a licensed psychologist won't prevent me from doing my TED Talk on Two Lonely Podcasters. By the way, I have no idea how you guys found out about that. I was pretty startled when you joked about it, just as I happened to be organizing my speech notes.
Is he joking?
And now I have a
I
similar
hope so.
second correction. Keith jumped to the conclusion that I was
that's very
not
Keith.
from the South when I only said I wasn't from his very specific guess of Georgia. I am, in fact,
Georgia.
from Memphis. I almost made that correction 6 weeks ago until I realized that if I did, Keith would read all my future comments in my non-existent Southern accent.
Well, I do declare I would never do something like that down in Savannah, where you're clearly from.
Are you Blanche Devereaux?
From what I understand, it's actually pretty common for children not to adopt the accent of their parents when it differs from the local dialect, though obviously I didn't do that either. In my case, I grew up hearing a Midwestern, a Brazilian, and Southern accents. Luckily, I was in a metropolis, and I had my own TV, so I also
Interesting
heard
mixture.
many others. As a weird 7-year-old, my favorite TV show was Night Court. So
Love Night Court.
it's possible that I sound this way because of OOPSY Award winner John Larroquette.
Or Bull.
Now
was
that
the guy
I
who played
think
Bull?
about it, his character Dan Fielding
Don't
shed
know.
his Southern accent when he moved to New York City. It's kind of poetic.
There it is. Well, and I think that all makes perfect sense. I mean, and I think Phoenix, as we were probably similar children, I developed my pretentious accent from NPR. So I basically just listened to NPR.
Terry
Speaking,
Gross.
Terry Gross. Terry Gross is where I learned how to speak. Very slowly and a little too close to the mic. That's what I do.
I watched a ton of 80s commercials. I was like obsessed with toy commercials. So maybe that's why I speak like the Micro Machines guy.
Good point. Well, all right. So now we have learned more about our good friend Phoenix. It's all coming together. And when one of us gets fired for budgetary reasons, we know who's going to step up and take over the show. All right. Speaking of the show, it is time to move on.
Wait. We also received just moments ago. I'm going to read it because I have it pulled up here. We received a YouTube comment from friend of the show, Jennifer Massanova, on YouTube known as Lil Lolo. She says, "Thank you for the birthday wishes, birthday twin, Scorpios. I fell behind on listening, so I missed out on the secret email account, but you'll get a good belated message. Keith, please keep the account open for a little while longer. Happy birthday."
Ooh, I will. Okay. Well, I mean, the account will be open forever.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to give that to my daughter one day. I don't know why I assume it's a daughter I'm having, but...
You're going to bequeath it? It's going to be in the will, is happy40mike@gmail.com.
I know. How depressing when I'm dead.
Or when you're 80.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, what's your email address?" "Oh, happy 40th birthday, Mike." That's your email address? Yeah, it was my dad. Anyway, I took that down a narrative path that I can't really
Yeah, you went down a dark alley there.
Yeah.
Well, it happens every once in a while. Well, it is time for us to go down a dark alley of our own and hop back into the time machine and talk about December 17th, the year 2000. And that makes me ask the question, Mike, what were you doing?
This day in the basement.
Oh, Keith, I do want to tell you that I do have a little thing here, and here it is. It's just got unsized because I was putting your pictures in, and it... Wait, hold on. Jen, the mailman's here.
The mailman! Get the PlayStation! Get the PlayStation!
Jen! The mailman's here!
Mailman! Get the mailman!
Get down there!
Oh, God! Oh, God!
You can make a birthday wish come true. He's got the box!
Somebody is getting a PlayStation!
On
For
the
his
podcast
40th
live,
birthday!
you're seeing a 40th birthday miracle come true.
It is a miracle! We've been waiting and we've hearing you bitching about getting a pre-order for about a month and a half. And now it's finally at the door!
Woo! And he just left it. He read my note and just left it, and he's pissed.
Wow.
What if I shout out the window like, "How dare you leave it on the street?"
God. Yeah, piss off your mailman. That's always a good idea.
Let's get this shit done. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. It's like Mike just like quits halfway through because he wants to play with his PlayStation. Understandable. All right. So talk about December 17th, the year 2000, where the best console was probably a Sega Genesis.
Jen, you think you're going to open that?
He's not paying any attention.
Jen, you want to open it to present it to me?
He's protecting his box.
December 17th was kind of, we talked about how kind of it was sad before, and
yes.
it was. But I do remember one funny thing is that my dad consistently wanted me to smuggle him in burgers and fries, which I think is probably very common. Oh, that is the box being opened.
Oh boy, it's a big moment.
All right, hold on. I guess we're just doing this now. Let me go to my one. Let me go to my one shot.
Go to the one. Go to the one. I'll get the music going again. Oh boy, it's very exciting.
Hey!
Wow, there it is, folks. It is a
Jen,
lonely, childless man has the greatest thing in his life.
Hey!
Amazing. Oh, there's the controller and everything. CEO Jen is displaying it. Oh my God, what a moment. What a moment.
No, I don't have any games, so if anybody wants to belated birthday present, you want to send a gift card.
Wow, this is a really big moment for the podcast. Wow. Well,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations. This has been...
this episode brought to you by Sony. Sony. Not at all sponsoring us.
Well, and to be fair, I guess I can say it on air because...
I guess I'm sponsoring them, in fact.
It's kind of the other way around. So we... Jillian and I and Eric and Elise bought Jillian's and Elise's parents a new Sony TV that's arriving tomorrow for thank you with all the house stuff. So I was pretty excited about that. So between the two of us, we have dropped a great deal of money at Sony.
Now the UPS man is coming to the door with another package.
Oh my God. This is
Jen, we got another package.
okay. Now it's time for a random Amazon order. Is it socks? It could be Head and Shoulders.
We're getting chicken wire. We're putting chicken wire out on the balcony so the cats can be out there and frolic.
Oh, chicken wire.
Oh my God. I hope you like us, dear listener, because this one is... Okay. All right. So my dad would have me smuggle him cheeseburgers and stuff, and then I would bring them, because they didn't give a shit. And then one morning he calls me. It's like 2:30 a.m. and he goes, "Mike, I need you to get me Scrapple." Now, if you're not from Pennsylvania, Scrapple is basically like explode a sausage, like an unknown meat sausage, into just like a thicker patty, and mix it with like Spam. I don't know. It's nasty. But people love it.
That is a very generous way of putting that.
It is.
As a Pennsylvanian in law, what Scrapple is blended entrails congealed in a bar of lard. It's horrible.
To continue that story, I said, "Okay, Dad, this is 2:30 in the morning." And then at 3:15 in the morning, he called me back and he's like, "So?" And so I then realized that he said he basically wanted it
right this minute.
So I had to go to the Acme, which is a local supermarket. I don't know if it might be national. And I was the guy at Acme at 3:30 in the morning buying Scrapple. And can only imagine what that guy thought of me, what he thought my existence was. He probably didn't put together that I was trying to give my dying father food. Scrapple. That's all he wanted. Yeah. Anyway, so that's about.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's Midnight Scrapple! Congealed animal parts mixed in lard.
All right, so it's the Christmas season, Keith, out in Vermont. Something's telling me, and by something I mean these pictures you sent me, that we have something to share.
Yes, indeed. So, as I don't remember anything that happened to me at that point, going into my parents' archive of photographs, on December 17th, the year 2000, my parents and my younger brother installed our Christmas tree. Now, as is tradition in Underhill, we get a giant tree because we had sort of a high ceiling in the living room. And so we would go out into, there was like a forest. It was, because we wanted a giant tree, there was an old tree farm that had been abandoned and the trees got overgrown. And so we would go through a farm field, hike up half of a mountain, cut it down, and then tie it to the roof of the car, and then install it. Now, if you can cycle through these, this is there was also part of the tradition was complaining that they got the smallest, charliest, brownest tree out there.
That doesn't look small to me.
This is probably the smallest tree that we got when there were people other than my parents living there. It's a little smaller these days.
Before I cycle to the next one, though, I want you to just give me a little background on that vehicle.
Oh, well, my father had a tradition for a good part of my childhood, and that was, instead of having 2 cars that worked, he wanted to have 6 cars, none of which really worked, and they all did like one thing at a time. So that was some old shitty Volvo that we had for like 3 years.
Yeah, that looks like a Micro Machine Volvo that's had the shit kicked out of it that got magically supersized.
It certainly did. And it was not with us very long. In fact, I barely remember even having it. But it was good for moving a tree. That is my dad. It's odd on December 17th not to have snow in Vermont. Must have been unseasonably warm. But there's my dad pulling in the tree through the kitchen. And so we would That's my brother and my dad. So that was it still is the living room there that would go up there. And unfortunately, the annoying part about this tree this year is it didn't hit the ceiling. So it was, we once, of course, put the tree through the ceiling, getting it into the stand. And now they decide to be wussy about it and get a tiny tree that year. It's mainly because I wasn't there and we remedied it the next year. So that is the Varney family tree edition.
She's a beauty.
Yeah,
She's a beaut, Clark. She's a beaut.
She was a little one. I'm disappointed that is the introduction to our trees because we have had much more exciting trees. But that was what happened December 17th, the year 2000.
Remind me next week, or maybe I'll just remind myself as I'm editing this crap together. We should do we should do a more TV next week about like our favorite Christmas shows to watch during the holiday season. Like growing up and today, like just make the segment about that. I think that would be fun.
Okay.
Because it's begun. In my household, it's begun.
Yeah, my household, we didn't have one. We watched hockey fights. But we'll get to that. But first, we're going to do...
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
All right, folks. We, as mentioned, are talking about December 17th, the year 2000. The top song continued to be Independent Woman by Destiny's Child. The local Burlington Free Press, the cover talked about at least 10 killed in Alabama twisters. There was a whole crazy cycle of twisters. I believe it ended up being 11. I did a little research after that. So I love whenever we have such a cheery song and then horrible news happening in the paper. Speaking of horrible news, the top movie was What Women Want, the Mel Gibson feature, which took in $33 million.
It turns out, Keith, this just it turns out they want anti-Semitism.
Yeah, apparently, yes. They want all the anti-Semitism and raging white male rage they can get. All right, that means it is time for...
It's time for Sportsball.
The New York Football Giants continued their tear through the NFL with a 17-13 win over the Dallas Cowboys. Amani Toomer caught a 33-yard touchdown in a game that only featured 370 total yards of offense. The Eagles were on a strange Week 16 bye. The Eagles had their bye in Week 16.
Did you dig as to why that was? You know what? We could use a bye right now and just buy us into next season.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You're bad. I watched the game this week.
Usually I can just turn it off because back in the New York days I had to like backdoor in through Ukraine or something to get it to watch the game. But
right.
Now it's just the only thing to watch and it's friggin' depressing. So.
On the plus side, you're not forced to watch the Jets.
No, God. Did they win yet? No,
they're not going to win this year.
I did watch that Chiefs Raiders game last night. What a great game.
That was fun. That was definitely fun. Okay, that was Sportsball. Sorry, everyone.
Roll it up. I'm ready for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm so excited.
Are you? Well, I saw you carrying that tree, and I figured we should tell everybody why you needed...
unseasonably warm in Vermont, I can tell you that.
Why you needed those chains.
Was it hot or did it snow?
Apparently not.
Tell me the weather from 21 years ago.
Keith, it was unseasonably warm in Vermont. It was 55.9 degrees Fahrenheit, but it did go down to 19 degrees overnight. But I want to tell you, the total precipitation was still an inch from snow melt, and the total snow depth for you, Keith, was 2 inches at the time. So you were carrying that tree in through a measly 2 inches of snow.
Yeah, well, they have more than that right now.
Well, it was a different time, Keith. It was a different time. But in King of Prussia with Mike, while he was out going to the Acme to get that Scrapple, we're talking
Scrapple.
Also warm in the Northeast, 57.5 degrees. It got all the way up to 66, though. It was basically spring in December. It went down to 46 degrees overnight. There was no snow, and there is no data on snow depth. Now, let's go back into our metaverse. In Boston, Massachusetts, where the team was getting ready for their Christmas festivities, it was a high of 65 degrees, a great day to walk your puppy if you just recently received a new puppy. It did get cold overnight, and there was no snow. So you know what? If you didn't have a puppy to walk, it'd be a great day for you to have to defend your old buddy from murdering his business partner. And that is your time machine weather.
Oh, I love you have nice warm weather to have that Scrabble be soft and slimy.
Congealed,
Scrapple.
nice and congealed.
Scrapple.
I'm a human being.
Oh,
God
wait.
damn it. My life has value, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
It's time to talk about the episode.
This episode of The Practice is season 5, episode 10. Boy, you know, if you skipped ahead to get through all of our bullshit to get to the episode, you skipped a lot today.
Did you? Or nothing.
Well,
We'll never know. We'll never know.
You skipped a great deal of time. I was not qualifying how the time was spent. All right. This episode was written by David E. Kelly and Lucas Reiter, who last wrote on Appeal and Denial. It was directed by Michael Zinberg, who last directed Life Sentence, which means, mercifully, we only have one more thing to do.
What is that supposed to mean?
What's your problem?
I got plenty.
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
Yes, it is.
One.
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
Keith, it seems pretty clear to me we have two things to deal with. We have to deal with the fact that at the tail end of last episode, Bobby's buddy and I guess permanent cast member of the season, Bruce Davidson, straight up shot his business partner in the heart. 4 times, I counted 4 gunshots. And then he emptied the clip, which means he only put 4 bullets in the gun because there should have been 6 in the clip.
Yeah, because he made the point to threaten Eleanor and Jimmy with it, but he put 4 bullets. That's an odd choice.
And the other ongoing case we have is the Mr. Hinks case, where he was acquitted of murder and then began stalking Lindsay, giving her a puppy. There was an injunction put against him. He can't stalk Lindsay, Helen, or Lucy, if I recall.
Or the judge.
But something tells me that is not going to stay. So my big swing predictions this week is that we see Mr. Hinks again, and this time he ambiguously, who we think it's Mr. Hinks, murders the psychologist. The psychologist gets dead.
Okay.
And also, I think at some point, Lindsay somebody runs over the puppy.
Oh, poor
we
puppy.
see that. I know. We see that in the rearview mirror.
Are you going to kill a puppy, Mike? Are you going to kill a puppy?
And then lastly, what I don't know is whether Bobby's going to defend B. Davidson again, or if we get a flippity-do and maybe Bobby's working with the DA or something because he was, I don't know. Something's got to happen. I don't have a guess for that. My big swing is
2 of his partners were threatened by his client.
Yeah, it feels weird that Bobby, I don't know how they would justify Bobby defending him, so there's something weird going to be there. But I'm going to say that the therapist getting killed is my big swing.
All right, so therapists and puppies are gonna die. Coming up next on The Practice, Season 5, Episode 10, Friends and Ex-Lovers.
We'll see ya back on the YouTubes after this. And we are back.
Back. Lots of things happened. The end of that episode had quite the killing field.
Yeah.
It was a pretty high death rate. Speaking of things that have a pretty high death rate, it is time for...
Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show.
Y'all, Helen's ex-boyfriend is dead, but he brought it upon himself because he was mixed up with the druggies. The dog is dead because Mr. Hinks was in the rear view driving a cab. He didn't run over the dog, but somebody killed that dog, and Lizzie's freaked. You know who else is freaked? Everybody, because Bobby went insane, and he wants to like piss everybody off by defending Bruce Davidson, who is going to get raped in prison. And you know what? Probably deserves it. I'm not sure that was that one's IMDb worthy, but
well, I said there was a high death rate in that segment, and that segment died. So perfect. Speaking of things that are about to die, let's move on to everyone's favorite.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the Oopsies?
Well, they're a fake awards show that always begins with...
Most valuable.
yeah, I still think Helen did the right thing. I think she did the ethical thing, and she was able to get that guy, even though he pled guilty, she did get him into the witness protection program. She got him, I think we'll say, because we haven't been given any information to the contrary, that his life was saved. The lawyer, her ex-boyfriend, was actually given a couple of opportunities, yes, in front of the grand jury, but his hand was forced. But he made an unethical decision to defend these bad people in the beginning and to take their money. And he had an out, and he chose loyalty to them over the out. I can't fault Helen for that. And I think she won the case. She saved that guy's life. And she lost a shitty boyfriend. So that's 3 wins. That's an oopsie.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think she definitely worked the hardest in the pursuit of justice. Her stunt having him arrested in the grand jury, I don't know if that's plausible, but it was certainly interesting. So yeah, I could give, I'm going to give an honorable mention to Richard Bay for giving Bobby some pretty decent advice and actually trying to serve the purpose of justice as well, advising Bobby to have a co-counsel, even though that kind of works against his own interests.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Bobby's doing Bruce any favors. So, but I think you're right. I do think it goes to Helen. Congratulations on your best, not best guest actor, most valuable lawyer. But what is next is...
Already famous cause you've been on TV, getting a paycheck, or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go, but you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Oh, someone's excited about the PlayStation.
I'm sorry, Bruce Davidson. You might be worthy of this award this week, but I can't even. I'm just over it. I'm over you. I'm over it. I'm over the case. I'm over Bobby's bizarre allegiance to your mental health.
The first cast member who's ever listened to this show, Bruce Davidson. I'm so sorry.
But I think a hockey announcer was really
fake Andy Brickley.
Yep. I fake Andy Brickley. I thought he had a tough role this week because he was kind of playing a character who was making decisions that we might see as kind of dumb, but at the same time, he had an unknown pressure only he knows the kind of relationship and the sort of threat he's under by his client. And that's all implied. None of it's really discussed. And yet it is palpable, it is tangible in the episode, and that's all because of the work he's done. And for those reasons, and, even the, very, I want to call it chauvinistic because Helen she's a sexual being. So, but even that little, those sexual overtones between her and him, even in that just one scene in the hallway, even though maybe we think they're a little gross or unnecessary, they did add a little bit of chemistry that adds to the conflict, and it didn't feel out of place because it was played well by both of them. So I think that Somebody Tugnut is my OOPSY Award winner.
Wow, James
Tugnut?
Colby.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Is the actor you're lauding? No, I actually agree. I mean, obviously, Bruce Davidson's there. Michael Emerson in his 10 seconds of screen time is super fun. Kittleson, of course. But I think James Colby did a really good job because he had to carry a lot of water there. And did so realistically. It's interesting to watch an actor playing a character who is lying so much. He's both lying and obfuscating. I think it just did a really solid job. So congratulations.
And he had a great death pose at the end.
James Colby. All right, coming up next. You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show. Mike thinks.
It's hard not to reward Dylan for going batty here.
Bobby McCrazy.
I think he's a little underserved by the writing, only in that it felt a little I want to say out of nowhere. It feels a little over the top, only because we don't know the relationship. They never really explain this relationship and why he's so concerned in the face of what seems to be overwhelming evidence that he should recuse himself. The fact that his colleagues were in the room and are witnesses for the prosecution, the fact that it's just simply better for Bruce to have a different colleague. Richard Bay even throws him a bone. The judge gives him an opportunity in and out. It just seems out of, but I don't know that that's on Dylan so much as the writing. I think the backstory hasn't been really presented to us, even though we've had 8 or 9 episodes with this character. And I think Dylan is asked to play a guy who is waffling between running his office, running this relationship, and also losing his shit. And that's not easy, man. That's a tough task, especially when the writing doesn't really support it. Yeah. And so not just because he's swinging wildly between two different objectives am I going to give him this award, but I just think he's still able to ground it in a place where it is still Bobby. And like I said, I'm a little concerned for him. And I think we're supposed to feel that. And so I'm going to give him my oopsie.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. And I will certainly have thoughts about it in the tires section because I think I agree with you that I think Dylan is sort of being let down by the logic of the writing of this, but he did give a great performance. I'm going to sort of for the same, I'm going to go with Helen Gamba. I'm going to go with Lara Flynn Boyle actually, because really I thought she went on a journey that made a little bit more sense. And really paid it off with, of course, as everyone knows, as Tom Brady pointed out, if you cry during the fade out, that should get you at least half of an oopsie. So I thought she did a really good job. So congratulations, Lara Flynn Boyle and Dylan McDermott with your Best Actors Award.
Also, honorable mentions, I think, 2 great scenes in this episode go to Michael Bottalucco had a great scene. A couple, and also Lucy, Marla Sokoloff. She, she was asked to have kind of a comedic beat up top. She was asked to find this dead dog. She was asked a lot of a variety of things, and she did great work. So
yes, Yes, indeed. So we have a split with an honorable mention. Well, you know what's not going to get split, and there is no honor in mentioning it.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Helen McBobby sandwich up on the... That's nasty. This was a nasty Photoshop. Is right there.
Him eating human fingernails wasn't nasty, but that was... I was hungry 2 weeks in a row.
This week is a little more specific, Keith. You're going to have to cut it out of the episode. By the way, for my birthday video, just so you know, we did get a YouTube strike.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but they just said we couldn't monetize the video, which we were never any threat of doing anyway. So
well, there is no danger of monetizing anything related to this. Safe.
So, but I'm going to get specific here, and I want to see Lucy finding Tom Brady's lifeless body in her middle desk drawer. Tom Brady.
Lucy finding Tom Brady's lifeless body in her desk drawer. Tom Brady.
Although I hate being morbid to Tom. He's having a tough enough go at it as of late anyway. So I'll just say finding Tom Brady in her middle desk drawer.
Well, we'll see whether he's dead.
You see where you go with it.
All right, we have one last thing to do before Mike can dive on that box of technology.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
Here's the thing. I'm really into the Mr. Hinks plot. I really just want that to pick up steam. And we're sort of like slow playing it, which is kind of cool. I mean, the tension is building, and I hope that we get a good payoff. I'm going to guess we do. The Bruce Davidson thing is, I've grown weary of it. And not only have I grown weary of it, but as we've mentioned, and I'll let Keith say probably more eloquently, it's not being written very well. It's like they wrote themselves into a corner and they just keep trying to prolong it. Because I know that they write Bobby off the show, it feels like they're preparing for that by writing Bobby, this like crisis Bobby. But I don't know that, I don't know the story. I've held off from investigating what happened with Spader and Bobby. So I don't know that that's accurate. I'm just kind of like creating a narrative that probably doesn't exist, but it feels unsupported, like Keith said. And I'd like to hear you delve into that more. So I'm let down by that. It just is weird for Bobby, who's supposed to be our main hero, to be the one who's most irrational. It doesn't even make any sense, the decisions he's making, unless he has a really specific relationship with this character that they have not explained over 9 episodes. An old friend explains all of his clients. It's not unique to this.
Yeah.
Especially when your friends were almost killed by the dude, and there is some serious shit going on with this stalker, and the best Bobby can do is like, we're going to get a security officer. Lucy, you handle it. Just all of it makes me not happy. That said, I thought the main case with Helen is interesting. It asks, like you said, some new questions. I think it was a neat twist at the end where the guy's dead, but none of it was that super exciting. It felt a little overstuffed overall. I'm going to give it 7.25 spare tires.
Yeah, it's tough to judge this episode by itself without having it be dragged down by the Bruce Davidson storyline. And I think you brought up a couple of points there that are important. One, the sort of the trope of Bobby making poor decisions, defending an old friend that we don't know and don't have any understanding of why he is so obscenely, obsessively loyal to a character just because they knew each other when. It's happened so many times in the show that I don't understand. You're as a writer, you're trying to put your lead characters in uncomfortable situations. You're trying to challenge them. You're trying to make them solve difficult problems, but it's sort of the same problem over and over again. And you really do have the law of diminishing returns. If there were a storyline about some old friend that we knew and we understood why it was, why he's so loyal to that person, if we knew about their relationship before and we did this once, I'm with you. That's great. I understand it. But at this point, it almost seems like the writers are just doubling down on this storyline, trying to justify it in the first place, which again is just weakening it over and over again. And the other point that you brought up that I think is really problematic for the show and for the writing of the character is that with what's going on with Hinks and Lindsay and the peril that she is in, and what's going on with and what happened to Jimmy and Eleanor, he is showing so much more concern for some random old friend who is now known to be a murderer. He's showing more concern for that guy than for his friends and partners, but his pregnant wife is being stalked and threatened by a serial killer.
Yeah.
And he couldn't give the tiniest shit. He's like, oh, wait, you're still here? And like, even when she's in a scene with him, they're talking about him and what he's going through and completely ignoring the fact that there's a psycho killer after your pregnant wife. What the hell, Bobby? It makes absolutely no sense. Like, think about it this way. Like, if Jen or Jillian were being threatened, do you think I'd give a shit about you going to jail?
Especially,
you know what I mean?
Especially that they're writing it as though nobody's, I don't want to say they're not taking it seriously, but Lindsay's concerns are not being heeded. He's like, well, he says he wasn't there. Nothing we can do. Everybody's like, nah, there's a lot of shoulder shrugging happening. You're like, this seems very serious.
Well, and I understand if you're the police, if you're Ray Abruzzo, you have a job, there's a protocol, that whatever. But if I'm your husband, I'm freaking the fuck out. I don't give the tiniest shit about Bruce Davidson or anything going on with him.
Totally.
And he's obsessed with it to the point of like, just, he's melting down, which would be odd behavior if none of the rest of this were happening.
Mm-hmm.
But considering all the other things going on, I don't know what's going on with Bobby. And I think the problem is it's just sort of weird, clunky writing, clunky story structure. And I'll say this. I also think I love the Hinks story. I love Michael Emerson. I love the character. I want more and more and more and more of it. But this episode, it got a little cheesy. It got a little rote, like Lifetime movie stalkery to me. And it was all just a little too cute. It was all a little too whatever, the dead puppy and the rear view mirror and the this, that, the other thing. It's just becoming a little Lifetime movie, and it's a disservice to the character, which is so great, and a disservice to the unbelievable performance by Michael Emerson. So while I did like Helen's story and I liked that new angle, it's so funny. When I started talking, I was expecting to give this episode, like a high 7, low 8, but I think I've talked myself into like a 6.75 just because I'm annoyed as a writer by what they're doing to their characters.
So that we average then to like a 7?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Average to a 7.
All right.
So, okay. Wow. I went on a journey there. I didn't know I was going to rant, but I did. But you know what? Sometimes here on the Out of Practice podcast, we go on unexpected rants. If you would like to go on an unexpected rant at us, correct us, fill us with information at Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice. You can, is it Out of Practice? Out of Practice? Have we been saying that wrong the whole time? Anyway, our email account is outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. Check out our blog at outofpracticepodcast.blogspot.com. This episode of the Out of Practice podcast is brought to you by generous donations from Leanne Wrights, Cloud Lover 69, Jorge Navoa, and Jennifer Massanova.
I love that Keith has probably typoed that since the very beginning. Anyway, if you'd like to send us money to the wrong account, apparently, you can do so in one of two ways.
Maybe we're rich and it's all going to the wrong place.
One-time donation, monthly contribution. If you can, it does help. You can find those links in the show notes. If not, just tell a friend that you know these two crazy comedians that do a funny podcast. Keith, I got a lot of time to fill. You know what? You do this one.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell that Mike is so antsy to turn on his PlayStation 5 because there's a good chance it'll make laser sounds.
It sure will. Laser sounds. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Pew, pew.
Ow!